Okay folks, we got us another saw here to work on. Start today, we're going to work on the Husqvarna 440 X-Torq. Don't really know much about this machine. Customer brought it in. You can see the chains off of it. Primer bulb at first glance appears to be in pretty good shape. I think what we're going to do first, I do see it's got some fuel in it when I touch the primer bulb. We're going to go ahead and remove the bar and chain, remove this top cowl, and just give it an overlook real quick. We're going to check the gas, smell the gas. The gas don't smell stale. We're going to try to crank it and see if it'll try to bust off. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll remove the bar and chain first. As you can see here, that's the chain adjusters in the side cover. We'll lay that over there. The chain was laying this way off up when I got it. This unit has a roller bar in it, which is severely wore. This unit will have to have a bar. No doubt about that. While we're out here, we're going to inspect the sprockets. Sprocket's got quite a bit of wear because it really does need changing. Alright, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's water in that fuel that'll come out there and trash, and that fuel is deep brown. So we know that's not any good. We may have some problems in that carb. Filling the line inside the tank, the line feels good. That don't mean it's good underneath the cowl, but inside the tank the line feels good. So I think what we're gonna do next, since we got that bad fuel out there, is I'm gonna put some fresh fuel in it, shake her around one time, dump it out, put some fresh fuel in it, and we're gonna see if it'll fire up. Alright, I've flushed and cleaned the tank. Fuel line looks good, fuel filter, but fuel line inside the tank looks good. But before I put fuel in it, I'm going to pop this housing off. We're going to look at the fuel line underneath it before we put any fuel in it. That way if it ends up being bad above the housing of the tank, we hadn't wasted all that fuel to have to change that line out. If that checks out, then we'll put the fuel back in it and we'll see if we can get it to start up. I noticed this thing has the original spark plug in it. So that's pretty cool. Fuel line feels pretty good. So before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do two steps at one time. We're going to put some fuel in it and we're going to put a tester on it. Then we're going to try to start it. So then we'll have fuel in it and we'll already know whether it's got spark or not. While we're here, we're going to check the air filter, and I found that it's got a little dirt, but it's not that dirty, so we just blowed it out. So we'll put that back on. Next, we're going to remove the clutch so that we can get that sprocket off. I'm going to go ahead and put a new plug in there. Alright, we flushed the fuel tank, put fresh gas, we know the unit runs, put a new plug in the unit. And I told you earlier we had inspected the bar and chain and determined that it did need a bar and chain and a sprocket. I showed you that bar, but I couldn't really show you the sprocket with it on the unit. I'm going to show you now. I got them right here. Let's see here. See how this sprocket has grooves wore in it and this sprocket don't. That's the new sprocket. People try to push yourself, but the money that you spend to go ahead and replace a bar, sprocket, and chain that's wore out, you'll save in the long run versus just replacing chains, because it's now no longer true. You're going to pre-stretch your chain. And you'll be like, it eats up them chains, and the problem was you. You didn't take the necessary steps to fix the unit right. So we're going to go ahead now and replace that sprocket And then we're going to take the unit out and clean it, and then we'll come back and put the new bar and chain on the unit. We've installed a new sprocket. I got a brand new Oregon bar here. Now, I don't know if you remember me telling you or not, but I showed you this and how the teeth don't stick up above it, and what's there is sharp. See how these teeth stick up above the bar? And they're rounded. That's a good bar. Now this bar has an oiler hole in it, so we're going to go ahead and grease this bar before we install it on the unit. We're going to grease both sides. Well, we already got it coming out the other side, so no use putting none in there. That will ensure that there's plenty of lube around that grease, plenty of lube around those bearings. We'll put that on the unit. Next, we got a brand new chain. This particular chain is a super chisel chain. This chain is made to cut chunks. This is not a safety chain. This saw will be ready to do some serious cutting. Now that's smooth. You see how that turns? There's no hex, no catches in it. You got a good sprocket, good chain, good bar. This saw will be ready to work when it leaves this shop. Kind of give an overview. Tank had a lot of trash and water in it. We've cleaned it. We cranked the unit. We've now installed a new sprocket in it. Put a new bar, new chain. We're now going to crank the unit and ensure that we're getting ample amounts of oil. I don't know what type of oil he's using in that bar, but it is not sufficient. Quick rundown of where we at. My battery died, so we kind of lost track, but got the unit fired up to test it after we put the new bar and sprocket on, and the unit would not oil. This is the cause for that. This is the old oil pump drive. It's chewed up, gnawed up. It should have good crisp edges on it like this one has, but it does not. So we're going to have to replace that oiler. Alright, we've reinstalled the fuel pump, the new one. Next, we'll put the cover plate back on, reinstall the worm gear. Then we'll put the bar and chain back on it. But first we're going to check it and see if we got oil. We've now reinstalled the worm gear. We've put the new oiler in. We've re-put on the sprocket, the clutch. We've ensured that the unit has bar oil. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to crank the unit. What we're looking for is oil right here. That'll tell us whether that oil is working or not. We got plenty of oil flow. That's what we was after. If you noticed it running out here and it's running down on the counter. And now we'll put the bar and chain back on here and make sure we're getting oil flow throughout our bar. We've reinstalled the bar and chain. Now we're going to fire the unit back up and make sure we're getting oil throughout our bar. If you'll remember last night, we've already greased the sprocket to our bar. Everything turns freely. There's no binding. That's a result of a good bar, good sprocket, good chain. So we're going to fire it up, and considering I spilled some oil already down here. Now what you're going to be looking for when I fire this saw up, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you're going to be looking for a good string of oil flying off of that bar onto the ground. So let's see what we got. you can see that in that video, but we have got a good bar penetration. So, little overview. Clean the fuel tank, flush the tank. We fixed the oiler by replacing the oiler, put on a bar, chain, and sprocket. That's another successful repair here at the shop. Appreciate y'all joining me.